up sound and strong this morning. A lot of questions on my mind. Is to you or is it well? Do we care? Do we worry?
Good morning. We want to welcome all of you to this validation process. But before we go further, we want to ask a volunteer to please lead us in a word of prayer. A volunteer.
Let us pray. And so, Father, we give you the praise and honor for the word and the blessing. We say thank you for waking us up this morning. Thank you for giving us the strength to be here at this hour. As we begin this program, Lord, that nation of the act, we pray that God that you guide, protect us, give us the wisdom that will give us the whole truth of this act. We pray that whatever we do, and you should be strong in Jesus.
Amen. Thank you very much for that powerful prayer. We will now do self-introduction. So, Council, can we begin with you? Then we'll go this way.
I'm Councillor Willie D. Barbe of the Law Reform Commission.
Yeah.
My name is N.C.D Black. I'm representing the Law Society.
Yeah, and then let's go to you.
I'm Susan Owen. Center of
Yeah, let's go.
Yes, I'm Reverend Father Buena, the former director, deputy director for N.C.D, president, CLCH.
My name is Naomi Harris, president of the National Union Organization of Disabilities.
My name is Daniel N.O. Dawe, Vice President of Operation, the National Union of the Disabled.
My name is Ruby Juniakan, from the National Association of Disabled Advocates.
I'm Aywdn Sandy of the Organization for Social Integration of Liberian Deaf.
I am Hannah J. Watson, Human Resource Officer of the Commission on Disabilities, Steering Affairs at present.
Yeah, my name is Benjamin Watt W. Gibson from Echo Community Radio Program on the United Methodist.
Sylvester, self-introduction.
Okay, I'm Sylvester GMC, Finance and Administrative Officer, Aywdn.
Bill.
My name is B. William M. Yarsiah, Country Coordinator, Aywdn.
Nanika Hoffman, Radio Maria.
Triple Sylvester C. and I write for Faber Radio.
And I'm Balakoli, your moderator.
Alright, good morning to all. I want to say thanks to all of you that have come to grace this all-important program. On behalf of the African Youth with Disabilities Network, to be specific, the program officer, Abraham Kane, who was supposed to be doing this overview, and members of the African Youth with Disabilities, we want to say thank you very much for coming this morning so that we can sit around the table to carry on some validation of an important document in our community. All right, and we as young people with disabilities saw it fit 2 years ago. We wrote a project to the Open Society Initiative for West Africa, and looking at the act creating the Commission on Disabilities. In 2013, the leadership of the commission went on trying to validate the past act that were passed in 2005. We looked at it during that time, and when it was submitted to the House, it was now passed after 3 years. So we as an organization decided that we need to pick it up because the issues of persons with disabilities were now, downplayed. So we thought it wise that, look, there's a need for us to look at this act, because when the issue of the Affirmative Act came about, there were some sticker issues within the Affirmative Act where 3 seats was supposed to be provided for persons with disabilities, and then at a later time it was cut down to 1. And in the old act, we noticed that there were some provision made for 3 persons to be representing people with disabilities in the National Legislature. So with that, we decided that, look, there's a need for us to look at this act in general and in totality with the community around us, like Ghana, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, all of the neighboring states around us here, so that we could be on equal footing and path, in carrying out the issues of persons with disabilities. It was in this backdrop that we wrote the project to the Open Society for us to validate or redo, the act. And we left from here to Kakata last year, November, and we were able to look at few things. We were able to look at few things in Sierra Leone, from the Sierra Leonean Act, from the Ghanaian Act, and that of the act that was put forth in Liberia. And so we noticed that within those acts, there were a lot of differences. So we decided now to bring it home with the support of the Open Society financially, and then Councillor Barclay and the leadership of the N.C.D, the National Union of Organization, and other DPOs that were present. We went through the act and then tried to synchronize it so that it will suit the reality of the day. And so with that, we went through it, and after doing that, the responsibility was given to Councillor Barclay, who went and tirelessly went through the act and then completed it and submitted it to the African youth with disabilities. And we cannot just carry it right away. We want to bring it back to the community of persons with disabilities so that they can do a look at it. That is why we are here today, so that we can validate. There were things that were said on that day, or that 5 days when we were in Kakata. Perhaps there were some that were not remembered, that were not captured, or there were some that needed to be added. So we brought it today for validation, so that we all can look at it to subtract those things that need to be subtracted, and to add those things that need to be added. And afterward, we are going to give the act over to the National Union of Organization, in which they will be calling a DPO gathering, where the DPO will have a broader perspective or idea about what we have done. Then after that, we will now plan for submission to the National Legislature. In that, we develop a strategic advocacy strategic plan. A framework is already designed, which will be served a copy, and we all will be looking at that strategic plan so that we can be able to execute the submission to the House until the act is passed. So we are going to be looking at that strategic plan also. So it is in this vein that we inform all of you today to be here. So when you came today, the reason for your coming here is all about carrying out the validation of the act, or the proposed act that we started amending from Kakata, and then we came here now to the National Office of the African Youth with Disabilities, where we are going to be looking at it in its totality, and then finally we'll be submitting it to the House of the National Legislature for passage into law. And we hope and pray that once it is passed into law, the government of Liberia will begin to implement it so that people with disabilities in Liberia will feel a part of our Liberian society, because too many at times the issues of persons with disability are being labeled or placed at the back burner. And so we are saying there is a need for us to be inclusive, so that when it comes to job, when it comes to developmental issues, when it comes to the building of the Liberian society, we should be inclusive. That is, anything they are doing, we should be a part of it. And that is the major reason why we are looking at this act. So, on behalf of the African Youth with Disability, once more, we want to say thanks and for coming, and we hope and pray that our being here will not be in vain. The head, the HR of the commission is present here, and then the union is present, and others are present here. We want to say thanks. Maybe there will be a time where we will give time for them to maybe make some remarks, and then they will do introduction to themselves, for themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you very much for the time. That is the overview of this project. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Hannah J. Watson, Human Resource Officer of the Commission on Disabilities, and acting until appointment can be made. The act that has been drafted, we are here for validation, and whatever we do, it will be in the interest of persons with disabilities. Before we start with this act, we have to look at the old act, the old map that you look at, to go to the new map. So as we have started to work on this act, we want to say thanks to those that have made tremendous contribution to it, and it has not been given yet. From here, we are going to take it to the union. From the union, before it will go to the legislature, because we want DPO, Disabled People Organization, or PWD, persons with disability, to take part in this, so they will not say it was something done without them. So as we have come today, we are going to do our best to make sure that this act will be once more in the interest of persons with disability. Thank you.
I want to use this time to say thank you to the Aywdn institution for the hard work done. I remember last year around the summer, we were in Kakata to look at this act, and there were a lot of work done. And so today we are here to look at that work that we did in Kakata along with the councillor. So I want to use this time to say thank you to the councillor for his hard work done, and we're hoping that what we did will be accepted by persons with disability, and the legislature will be able to take our act and act upon it, that persons with disability will be included into the society. Again, I say thank you to Aywdn and the councillor.
Well, I would like to observe those who are here as representatives from the various organizations, DPOs, and also from those mother institutions like Naomi and N.C.D. I would like to appreciate all of you for coming. As the history was said here, we started this thing way down the line. 2015, we worked on the act, and 2005, we worked on the act, and from 2005, we came to 12. We started writing the new act until we gathered the same way we gather here today, we deliberated on it and took it and sent it to the parliament. But let me tell you people what happened with our parliaments. Even as we are writing this, we're going to be presenting it to them. But if we present it to them, we need to devise a specific strategy how we're going to enforce the passage of this act. Other than that, it's going to lie down there just the same way it lay down. That's one. Secondly, we all have to be united in the presentation of this act. Not only one group of people saying N.C.D or NODE going to present it, but all the organizations of persons with disability have to put together, go to the house there, present it to them, and after presentation, we all become responsible for the act to follow it up with the legislatures. Other than that, we're going to suffer the same thing this act suffer. We know the whole act, how we unitedly foster our effort, went to the house, demanded that it must be passed, and it was eventually passed. If we agree to do the same thing, we're going to pass this act very quickly, and it will be in the interest of persons with disabilities. For me, being the past deputy director, which I'm still hoping that I will come back, I'm really appreciative of what William, Yarsiah, and the rest of you who belong to this organization have done. I want to appreciate the councillor. Thank you very much, councillor. I wish you would do well for us by helping us even in the presentation to the legislature. Afterwards, we're going to have an act that will incorporate and rule all the persons with disability and be of help to them. Thank you very much. God bless you, and let us work together to make sure the act becomes an act.
So we will now go over to Councillor Barclay. We'll now go over to Councillor Barclay for the presentation of the draft act.
An act to repeal the act establishing a National Commission on Disability of 2005 as an autonomous agency in government, and in lieu thereof, the act creating the National Commission on Disability of 2018. Preamble. Whereas the government of the Republic of Liberia is under obligation to explore diverse means to cater to the welfare and well-being of its citizens and residents without discrimination, irrespective of their status, religious affiliation, ethnicity, disability, creed, and political orientation, with the ultimate objective of improving the living standards of its people. Whereas the government of Liberia has signed and ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability and under obligation to fully implement the provision of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability.
What you should have done from the beginning is have the draft proofread. But since they were not proofread, there are some errors that should have been removed before bringing the document. They are still existing. Our personnel have gone through the draft and pointed out all these things, how they should be corrected first, all over the documents, and we get back to the weird one.
I think this document was circulated prior to us coming here.
You saw some error in it.
But I want to say, so inform me that there was the preamble, and he has problem with the preamble, he stayed in. He has not
Preamble, paragraph 2, line 1, 2 and 3. What you have been said is this: whereas the government of Liberia has signed and ratified, not rectified, ratified Okay. RATRFREND. RATRFRED. Okay. The United. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. Person with disability, P should be capitalized, disability capitalized, D capitalized. Then you have implement the provision therein. Finish. No need to repeat it long. Okay, the repetition is now. So,
So I will ask that you read it carefully, and then when you start to hear whether the United Nations Convention should be reading there, and then walk our way up instead of speaking across the day.
So whereas the governor of Liberia has signed and ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and is under obligation to fully implement the provisions therein. Don't put it here in a just
whereas the government of Liberia has signed and ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability and under obligation to fully implement the provision of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. It's when it should not be there, you should write it down and put there in and stop.
Now that's why Mr. Sadi is suggesting that instead of there in, just put it there in, and then we put the convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
This is the first time it is reading what it is read there. So it should remain. If you come to second and you want to repeat it, no. So what should remain? The convention should remain. Yeah, it should remain.
Implement the provision of the United Nations.
What is it? What is it that is needed to be protected?
And the United Nations Convention and
the provision there the provision of their
incorrect. Listen, Jerry, let me talk something on that thing. Take your own time.
You say, whereas the governor of Liberia has signed and ratified the United Nations Convention.
Okay, now it is already mentioned. The United Nations Convention. Listen up.
It's clear as to Mr. Yarsiah.
It's already there.
United Nations Convention. And the right should come again on the United Nations Convention. Just go there in.
It will hold.
As realizing and being cognizant of their undeniable fact that persons living with disability constitute a significant percentage of the population of the Republic of Liberia and are an integral part of our society that has been marginalized and neglected for a protracted period of time. Okay?
But you remove that as well.
What day?
The first time, the convention.
Just
you say, whereas the issues of persons living with disability can no longer be ignored in view of the fact that they deserve to be treated with a high degree of respect and as matter of extreme urgency to enhance and improve the welfare and well-being of persons living with disability. Welfare and well-being. And whereas the government of the Republic of Liberia has determined that the plight of persons living with disability is alarming and unacceptable, and that urgent and concrete measures must be taken to remedy the situation of persons living with disability, with the ultimate goal of positively impacting their lives to ensure that they participate.
That they fully.
No, I really exactly how it is. They fully participate all aspects our national agenda without discrimination.
All aspects.
All aspects.
I want you to
All aspects.
All aspect of. Let the off that day.
Okay.
All aspect of.
All aspect of our
National agenda without discrimination.
Our national
One at a time.
Why?
Okay.
Why our
The law of Nigeria has determined that the plight of persons living with disability.
Listen to him.
Yeah, that's the one.
What the revenue was trying to do.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Sali,
Okay. Where
With the ultimate goal of positive impacting with the ultimate goal of positively impacting their lives to ensure that they fully participate in all aspects of our national agenda without discrimination.
Yes.
go there,
Yes, I mean, what I was trying to ask them, why put our national agenda already belong to us, you know?
So just to remove our national agenda to put the national agenda
of the
national, yes,
So you are all aspects of
the national agenda, yes, national agenda.
Remove our and put there. All aspects of the national agenda or discrimination.
Yes, I want to really say yes. So they don't look at it now.
They don't look at it.
Let's come to the side again. Let's
We say, whereas the government of the Republic of Liberia has determined that the plight of persons living with disability is alarming and unacceptable, and that urgent and concrete measures must be taken to remedy their situation, with the ultimate goal of positively impacting their lives to ensure that they fully participate in all aspects of the national agenda without discrimination.
Yes.
So you remove our and put there.
Let's proceed there already. Right?
Don't go there now. Careful. Are we there?
Yeah, move.
Now, therefore, it is enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Republic of Liberia in Legislature and Sambo. Right? Chapter 1.
So that means we know the preamble now.
Yeah. Chapter 1, preliminary provisions. Section 1.1. Short title. This act may be cited, recited in short as the Disability Act of 2018.
Any problem with it?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
They said because it's written in 2018, because we have had an act which we want to repeal.
Yeah, Councillor.
Councillor, the current act was 2005. We're repealing that, I think this in place of that 2005 act.
So this is the Act 2018.
We assume that it will be passed this year, so that also the Disability Act of 2018
document. Repealing the 2005 act, so it cannot be again 2005 act. Okay.
Just a minor suggestion. The preamble should remain on one sheet. So just push that one down. Let's carry it down.
So the therefore, okay, one sheet. Consider it down. Yeah. So go ahead, right?
I know what you said.
means the chairman of the National Commission on Disabilities. Huh?
Yeah, I want to say with that, I don't know question. We have definitions here and we have things referring to. So I have the chairperson refer to. Then look at chair, what the meaning of chair? God commission refer to the National Commission on Disability. That's the meaning. You getting my point?
The chairperson refers to.
I just see when you use the word means is more relative to definitions than aquarium and what it's referring to. So there are certain places we say refer to. So if you see the commission, you know like the National Commission talking about.
So the chairperson refers to the
chairperson means.
Chairperson means the National Commission. Chairperson means the chairman. Chairperson refers to. Yeah, that's why.
So we talk about the definitions here. It should be understood that the definition given in this act refers only to this act. So I say chairman basis, the other party basis, and that's what we say here. So I don't think there's much problem with this here, the definition section.
Okay, let's say DPO. We say means, but I don't like DPO refers to disabled people organization. Now what can you say?
Oh, it's okay. Everyone should be means.
There's a definition we say means. But if it's like a equivalent, we say refers to.
Which one you want to change that?
When we go Councillor, hello. You can say something. She see.
I understand it.
Okay. Then we can go.
The chairperson I refer to is really the chairman of the National Commission.
Where are we chairperson? You know to come on with me?
Yes.
I'm talking. Section 2.1, establishment of the commission. There is hereby established an independent commission within the executive branch of government of the Republic of Liberia to be known and star as the national. We feel what that means basically, Sandy.
And that means.
What does that mean?
No S. DPO, move the S. DPO, move the S.
DPO,
move the S.
They're not disabilities?
We always say disabled people organizations.
You say
People organizations. Yes.
Organizations will carry S at all.
Yeah.
Two 2.2 Existence and authority and National Commission Disability.
There should be disabilities.
That can be done.
Which one?
2.2 The Commission shall have perpetual succession and existence. As a legal statutory body, the Commission shall have a common seat.
Section 2.1. There are capitalization and necessary.
Where?
For instance, an independent commission. Our commission should be capitalized.
An independent commission. The commission should be capitalized.
Capitalized.
That's capitalized.
As a legal statutory body, the Commission shall have a common seal, and such other is similar identified similar as deemed appropriate and as distinguished from other government bodies and commission. The Commission shall, in the performance of its function, have the capacity and authority to do the following: A. Sue and be sued in its name. B. Hold, purchase or otherwise acquire, secure, charge, dispose of, or alienate movable or immovable properties in the course of and in furtherance of its functions and mandate. A soliciting grant as may be needed for the achievement of its statutory mandate and for its operation-related purposes, and do and perform all other things and acts in the performance of the provision of this act and the manner of the Commission and which may be lawfully done or performed by a statutory body similarly situated in the nature of a government commission. The function for which the commission is established is to ensure the well-being of persons with disability. Okay. 3.2. Without prejudice to the generality of subsection 1, it shall be the function of the commission to A. Play the advocate's role on disability issues at all levels. B. Formulate and develop measures designed to achieve equal opportunities for persons with disability by ensuring as far as possible that they obtain education, employment, and participate fully in sporting, recreational, and cultural activities and are afforded equal access to community and social services. C. Monitor and evaluate disability programs, policies, and programs. D. Formulate strategies for broad-based involvement and participation in the implementation of national disability policy to administer and ensure the enforcement of all laws relative to persons with disability in Liberia. F. Promote studies and research on issues of disability and provide education and information to the public on issues of disability. G. Recommend measures to prevent discrimination against persons with disability. H. Investigate or inquire on its own or complete by any person an allegation of discrimination against persons with disability. Support and secure the rehabilitation of persons with disability within their communities and social.
The one you just read, that's what you want to say there.
What is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Land 2.
Read, study.
Yeah, land 3.
Yeah, because we talking.
Read. Okay, land 2 of H. You talk about against person with disability is really pluralized persons.
Persons.
H is second line.
I said if I refer you to
it's persons.
land 2.
S.
What are S in parentheses? There could be person or person.
Persons.
What is S in parentheses? Social environment. Give mobilize resources for the achievement of its objective. A. Register and maintain a database of persons with disability. Institution, association, organization, both private and public, that provide services for K. Where are you? We're down here. Institution, association, organization, both private and public, that provide services for rehabilitation and welfare of persons with disability. Place at which services for rehabilitation of persons with disability are provided. Persons with disability whose condition requires constant medical attention. And C. Various levels of skill, training, and job placement for persons with disability.
For you say for they get off person with disability.
Job placement? Yeah. For. You got it? Yeah. Okay. Coordinate activities of organizations of persons with disability and international organizations and non-governmental organizations that deal with disability. Carry out measures for public information on the rights of persons with disability and the provision of this act. Other functions in relation to the welfare and rehabilitation of persons with disability as the commission may deem necessary. We will cooperate with government during every national census to ensure that accurate figures of persons with disability are obtained according for purposes of planning. We advise the government on the provision of any international treaty agreement related to the welfare or rehabilitation of persons with disability and its benefit to the country. Q. Promulgate regulation to give effect and meaning to this act. Promulgate regulation 1. Arrow. Perform other functions that are necessary for the attainment of the objectives, function for which the commission was established. Let me just come to the queue. There are lots of things that may not be in the act. It will fall in the regulations. Because you see that regulation is only one. Because you see the act, the regulation, you can change things there from time to time. But the act, you can't change it, so the regulation will serve to give meaning to this act. For instance, it is say, oh, they say, oh, you can register with 50 cents. They say, oh, no, too much, then we're going to reduce it. You can't go to the act and do that, so it's in the regulation. The regulation that's only get all they play with. You can change that. Okay, they will look at 4, That's 4. Staff of the commission. Appointment of commissioners. The president shall appoint in consultation with the disabled community and subject to confirmation by the Senate. 5 commissioners from persons with disability of the various categories. From persons, yeah.
So one of the characters from persons with disabilities.
Yeah. Okay, that one people get together. So that deaf, visually impaired, physically challenged, albino, and mental disability. And shall appoint one of the 5 as the chairperson. The 5 commissioners so appointed shall elect a co-chairperson from amongst themselves. Commissioners of the commissions shall receive remuneration, allowances, salary, and benefit comparable to other government commissions. Now this is very important. You establish this commission here, you just like the Law Reform Commission, the Governance Commission, so you now have any lesser commission. So you see with regard to independent human information. So see that look, this commission should be on par with all other government commissions. 4.1. There shall be for the commission a chairperson who shall be appointed by the president with the consent of the Senate. The chief executive officer and chief spokesman of the commission. The chairperson shall hold office for an initial term of 5 years, but may be reappointed for another term of 5 years and no more. What? But most of the commissions that had it, most of the commissions 5 years. But you can't go for 2 terms. The 5 years. Yeah, no, most of the commissions. Like you right now, we don't know what might happen, but normally they have tenure for 5 years. And that more than you can only serve 2 terms. Now let's look at C. That will send the provision of subsection B of this section. The chairperson may resign his or her appointment by notice in writing addressed to the president through the board, or be removed by the president for inability to discharge the function of his or her office, whether arising from infirmity of mind or body or any other cause, or for proved misconduct or corruption. Are we together?
I hope we follow you.
Sunday is good, is man, on back.
Because this thing is meant for person with disability. Yes, I have something to read again. Yeah, for removal.
That will say the provision of subsection B of this section. The chairperson may resign his or her appointment by notice in writing addressed to the president through the board, or be removed by the president for inability to discharge the function of his or her office, whether arising from infirmity of mind or body or any other cause, or for proved misconduct or corruption. Be the principal deputy of the chairperson and shall serve as chairperson in the absence of the chairperson.
In a world, you can't carry project person to court. I'm telling you, therefore, such responsibility cannot be given to the present person.
But do you believe that the president of Liberia will appoint a trained man to head the commission? Qualifications of commissioner. The commissioners appointed by the president shall be A. Liberian citizens, B. a degree holder or its equivalent, C. experience the field of disability, D. of good moral character, 25 years of age or above, and no two commissioners shall come from the same county. No two commissioners shall come from the same county. Be responsible for the day-to-day operation of the commission. Maintain a comprehensive register referred to in section 3.2. J. May delegate any function to an officer of the commission, but shall not be relieved from the ultimate responsibility for the performance of the delegated functions. Perform any and all other functions determined by the board. Allocation from the government. Gifts and donations. Grants from national, bilateral, multilateral organization, agency, and any other money that may from time to time be allocated to the commission outside of the budget. You have the budgetary allocation. There are times.
Projects.
Which project?
You get brains. When you write something like that,
let's listen to the part. Any other money that may be from time to time be allocated to the commission outside of the budget. What if they gave you $1 million in the budget, but for some strange reason you have some problem, and you want to talk to the president, say, oh, want A, B, C, D. He agrees to be $200,000. That's what kind of money they're talking about. Because it is not in your budget, that's all. That's on the outside. Most of account and audit. The commission shall, within 3 months after the end of any fiscal year, submit to the president for legislative consideration an estimate of its expenditure income for the succeeding year. B. The commission shall maintain updated accounts and proper records in relation to those accounts, and shall cause said account to be audited within 3 months after the end of each fiscal year by the GAC. Normally, a government give you money, they got to audit you to see how you spend the money. Section 5.2, audit annual reports. The commission shall prepare and submit an annual report to the president and the legislature not later than the 30th of September of each year, in such form as the president may direct all the activities of the commission during the immediate preceding year, and shall include in the report a copy of audited accounts of the commission and the auditor's report thereof for that year. So when you submitting a report, you got to submit it with the auditor's report. Now, let's look at the board.
September is that by law? You say in September is that by law?
We say within 3 months, the fiscal year ends in June. June, July, August, September, now September 30th, 3 months. Governing board. They hereby establish for the commission a governing board to be known as the Board of Directors of the National Commission on Disability. The board shall consist of 9 members. A. Director General, National Social Security and Welfare Corporation shall serve as chairman. B. The Director General, National Lotteries. C. The Minister of Justice. D. Minister of Finance and Development Planning. Minister of Education. Minister of Labor. President of the Lebanese Community. The Managing Director of the Liberian Petroleum Refining Company, and Chairperson of the Commission shall serve as the Secretary to the Board. As the Board of this Commission. Functions of the Board. The function of the Board shall be to A. Supervise and monitor the operation of the Commission and ensure the effective and efficient implementation of the functions of the Commission. Serve as an advisory body to the government on issues of disability and its related issues. approve the budget of the commission, advise and direct the commission of regulations required for effective implementation of this commission, of this act rather. Fifth, remuneration, allowance and benefit of the staff and employees of the commission. You see, at this, the board will set salaries and whatnot. Because sometimes, I can be checked, if you lead out with the chairperson, I the chairman here to set salaries for people. It can be for a party. So the board will set the salaries or what?
Yeah. Get up. Face.
Think.
Okay.
6.3.
Yeah.
6.3E.
Yeah.
It should not be fixed, but rather review and approve.
What?
Review and approve.
Review and approve the
Remuneration.
allowance and benefit of this.
Well, how can that be? There are no salaries, so what would they be reviewing?
So who sets the salary?
Be subjected by the management of the commission. Then send to the board for their review and approval.
We are already in those things. That's why you have a lot of corruption in the commission.
Yeah.
We are there. The board member that the board said the salary say, controller you made 1,000. The other party made this. So when I come, then the controller. What I let her that she can get her money. But if it is competition upon me, it becomes a problem.
Then you let her.
It becomes a problem. And then I let her. It cannot do what.
Who should we refer to now as salary member, that non-member there?
Who
should we refer to on that non-member?
salary member? They're all the government officials on our book.
Exactly.
Justice Minister, Labour Minister, they are salary members. Because as long as they appoint the Minister of Justice, they on our book.
Yeah, the non-secretary is a disabled person that is on our board. The eminent disabled person.
They become eminent village qualification.
All non-salary members of the board shall hold office for an initial period of 4 years, but may be reappointed for a second term of 4 years and no more.
Yeah, we're right. Yeah.
All such terms and conditions are may be specified in his or her letters of appointment.
I want to know the meaning of non-statutory
That is the two business, the disabled person and the
The
business.
Lebanese community president and the disabled president of that commission, they are no statutory members. The Justice Minister, Labour Minister, those are statutory members. 6.6 cessation of membership, filling a vacancy. Notwithstanding the provision of this act, a member of the board shall cease to hold office as a member of the board if he or she resigns appointment as a member of the board by notice in writing addressed to the president. He or she becomes incapable of carrying the function of his office either arising from infirmity of mind or body. He or she, listen, take one off. Mind or body, which one do we take off? Arising from an infirmity of mind or body, which one?
What is it what we're talking about? Body and
That's what
we're talking about.
But it will, let's follow this thing.
Membership.
D. He is consecutively asking for 3 million of the board for sufficient cause. And where a vacancy occurs in the membership of the board, it shall be filled by appointment of a successor to hold office for the remainder of the term of office of his or her predecessor upon the same term and condition established in for membership of the board. Pursuant to a notice to the relevant institution by the secretary not later than 30 days after existence of the vacancy. Such successor shall however be eligible for reappointment only for a second term regardless of the duration and the remainder of the term he or she serves. 6.7 meeting of the board. The board shall meet at least once every 3 months for the dispatch of business at the times and places determined by the chairperson. The chairperson shall preside at meeting of the board, and in the absence of the chairperson, a member of the board elected by the member person from among their members shall preside. The board may co-opt any person to act as an advisor at its meeting, but a co-opted member shall not vote on the matter for this year. What is that? Shall not be validated by reason of vacancy among the members or a defect in the appointment or qualification of a member. The quorum at the meeting of the board is 7 members. Matters before the board shall be decided by a simple majority of members present and voting. In the event of an equality of vote, the person presiding shall have a casting vote in addition to his or her own original vote. And subject to this section, the board shall determine and regulate the procedure of its member. How do you supposed to operate? 6.8. Disclosure of interest by a board member. A member of the board who has an interest in a matter under consideration by the board shall disclose in writing the nature of that interest to the board, and it disqualified from participating in the deliberation of the board in respect of that matter. And the member who fails to disclose an interest as contained in section 6.8a ceases to be a member.
6.8 is it?
Let's say,
What is it?
okay, what is it? Wait, let me explain it. The commission is thinking about buying a property. And you member of that board. That property is owned by your daughter. You should disclose it to the community and say, they think you want to buy it for my daughter, yeah? But say you're discussing the matter, my hair not there. When that case, they may not go around the zone, but they may not go member, that why will pay so much money. That's what they say. Because you have an interest in that matter.
7.0. Rights of person with disability.
A person with disability shall not be deprived of the right to live with that person's family or the right to participate in social, political, economic, creative, or recreational activities. B. Except as otherwise required by the condition or the need for improvement of a person with disability. A person shall not subject a person with disability to differential treatment in respect of residence. Yeah? Except as otherwise required by the condition or the need for improvement of a person with disability, a person shall not subject a person with disability to differential treatment. A person shall not subject a person with disability to differential treatment in respect of residence.
Alright, you not treat somebody. The person now is a person in a sense.
A person with disability has to be put in a specialized establishment. The environment and living conditions of the establishment shall, except as otherwise required by the condition of the person with disability, be as close as possible to those of a person without disability of the same age as a person with disability. A person shall not discriminate against, exploit, or subject a person with disability to abusive or degrading treatment. An employee shall not discriminate a prospective employee or an employee. An employee shall not discriminate a prospective employee or an employee on grounds of disability, unless the disability is in respect of the relevant employment.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
What it means it means that if I am an employee, I am not disabled, and you are an employee, you are disabled, I should not treat you, on the basis of disability, except wherein the disability that you have does not compact with the employment here.
But do you have any disability that will not compact with the employment of an institution?
Yes. Let's say for instance, you came If you're the cannot be a driver.
Yes, I know.
So, like, it is in that kind of situation. You can't be an electrician. You can't open level. So they are saying,
let us, excuse me, let us not try to differentiate ourselves so much.
No, but I mean,
let me tell you, in modern days, cars are there, persons with disability usually they can drive.
We have seen when Mr. Jones was still alive, Mr. Jones used to electrify his own home. You know?
And he was an electrician before he became blind.
Yes, he was an electrician. But you want to tell me somebody who is blind cannot learn electricity?
No, they can learn.
They can learn. So let us please don't. This is hard discrimination. Yes.
Yeah, read it step by step.
An employee
shall
not discriminate.
You should not discriminate
a prospective employee or an employee on grounds of disability unless the disability is irrespective of the relevant employment.
Unless the disability is irrelevant, that means it is not important to that particular employment.
The owner or occupier of a place to which the public has access shall provide appropriate facilities that make the services available and accessible to a person with disability.
Yes.
H. A person who provides service to the public shall put in place the necessary facilities that make the service available and accessible to a person with disability. Now, a person who a person who contravenes any of the provision of Section 7 commit an offense, and upon conviction by a court of competent jurisdiction shall be sentenced to a term of imprisonment of not less than 1 month or more than 3 months, or a fine of $2,200 United States or both. D. An employee with disability may not necessarily be subjected to the same terms and conditions of employment as a person without disability, but shall be entitled to the same compensation, privileges, benefits, or allowances as employees without disability.
If we keep saying because we are disabled, that Daniel can say because we are disabled, you will not improve. It depends on your output. You can go to school and another person, you can learn other things. So I don't know how we can paraphrase it. Where people coming out to say that because you are disabled, they put not look at you and say, go to their needle. What's that one? When you want to say what service, they get classes. No, let me learn. When you go to say what service, they get classes. Because they know some boy ought to do when they get class 1, class 2, class 3. But you will not say this because we are disabled. I'm not talking about people what they say we disabled. So you have to do anything. Why? Why is that?
They are not talking on the basis of charity. We take you to get high and all the good. You will not take some better.
So everybody is not going
to say that's not what they are.
They will have consideration.
You will be like other people.
You will be like other people. Why is that? So that one you can't say the car being again.
If you want to go to the ministry, everybody going. They don't care. Why you get us where?
The law here says you should go there to
I shall take effect immediately upon publication in the handbills.
It is published. Go ahead and
so far for public we should move on.
Okay, Mr. Sandy.
But what I draw my attention to, I get an example to the Ebola at the time it came. So if you hear me talking about the risks to persons with disability, there was nothing that was mentioned into the act to protect persons with disability in terms of risks or danger. Like the Ebola came, the person with disability was vulnerable to the Ebola situation. It was just God of guarding us. And now you look under the internal affairs, they get a risk and disaster management there. Now Article 8 of the Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disability, it clearly stated that in terms of risks or disaster, the government should provide protection for persons with disability. But now in the Act, nothing was captured on that.
Okay. I have already thank you for presenting a draft. And I have some suggested addendum to add up. There are certain things very important that are left out. One was the education and cultural issue, but you have told me that there will be inclusive education. I forgot about that aspect for now. The second part is political participation and representation.
Any representation, political representation of persons with disabilities in the parliament? You're not there? Please let it be considered. Or else we have to write another. But so please let it be considered. You know, in the old acts, we have political representations.
I mean, the 3 persons stay.
Yeah, the 3 persons.
To represent.
Yeah.
Get out of the house. 3 seats to represent. Probably will put it.
Yeah. Then another thing of 5.
And the locals also have
I woke up sound and strong this morning. A lot of questions